They thought it would be easy. That's the part that still gets me. One look at me hoodie backpack earbuds in and they decided I was the kind of person who would apologize even when I was right. The kind who would stand up quietly, shuffle to the back, and disappear. What they didn't realize, what they couldn't possibly imagine, was that this moment was about to crack something wide open. Not just for me, but for everyone watching. It started like any other travel day. Exhausting, rushed brain still fried from finals, body running on caffeine and stubbornness. I boarded the plane early, found my seat, 2A, first row window, the one I had paid for weeks ago, and sat down with that deep, grateful sigh you only make when you know you're finally going to rest. I wasn't dressed the part, I guess. No blazer, no watch, no leather briefcase, just a college kid who wanted sleep. And for a few peaceful minutes, everything was fine. Then I felt it, that pause beside me. You know the one, when someone is standing too close for too long. I pulled one earbud out and looked up. The lead flight attendant stood there, smile, tight eyes, scanning me like a receipt she didn't trust. She didn't say hello, didn't ask how I was. Just said, I need to see your boarding pass. Not rude on the surface, but something underneath it, something sharp. I showed it to her. She stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. Her lips pressed together. There's been a mix-up, she said. This seat is reserved for a priority guest. I told her calmly I booked this seat. Full fare. She didn't respond to that. Instead, she motioned behind her, and that's when he appeared. The suit came first. Perfectly tailored, expensive in that loud but quiet way. Then the attitude. He didn't even look at me at first, just at her. Is this being handled? He asked, already annoyed. She nodded immediately. Then he finally glanced down at me, eyes flicking over my clothes, my face like he was scanning for a reason I shouldn't be there. I need that seat, he said. I have work to do. The light in mine doesn't work. I laughed just a little out of disbelief. I said, that's not really my problem. The air changed instantly. The attendant's smile disappeared. She leaned closer and told me I needed to gather my things. Economy plus. Middle seat. Very comfortable, she added, like that was supposed to soften it. I felt heat rise in my chest. Not embarrassment. Something heavier. I said no. I said I paid for this seat and I wasn't moving. That's when the words changed. Suddenly, I was disruptive. Suddenly, I was holding up departure. She warned me about federal regulations, about compliance, about consequences. The man smirked and checked his watch. People like this always want to argue, he said, not even bothering to lower his voice. Just make her move. People like this. That's when I knew. This wasn't about a seat. It was about who they thought I was. I put my earbuds back in hands, shaking just slightly, and stared straight ahead. I said, I'm not moving. She reached out and yanked the earbuds off my head so hard they hit the floor. That snapped something in me. I said quietly, don't touch me. She leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume and said, you have 1 minute to comply or I call the captain. She didn't wait the minute. The captain arrived with 2 security officers like they were responding to a threat. Not once did anyone ask me what happened. Not once did anyone look at my ticket again. They told me to stand up. I said I would as soon as I grabbed my bag. One of the officers grabbed my arm. I pulled back, more reflex than resistance, and suddenly someone shouted, she's resisting. It was like a switch flipped, hands everywhere. My arm twisted behind me. Pain sharp enough to steal my breath. People gasping. Phones coming out. They dragged me into the aisle. I wasn't fighting. I was stumbling. There's a difference. But no one cared. I kept saying, you're making a mistake. Please check my name. The attendant laughed and said, tell it to the judge. Someone behind me whispered something about how I probably snuck into first class. Another voice said, figures. That hurt more than the grip on my arm. They marched me off the plane in handcuffs, through the terminal, past families and business travelers who stared like I was entertainment, like I was proof of something they already believed. I kept my head up, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. They put me in a small room and told me to wait. That's when the adrenaline wore off. That's when my hands started shaking. I checked my phone. 1 bar of signal. I didn't post. I didn't call friends. I texted my father. 3 words. They removed me. The officer came back with paperwork. Disorderly conduct. Trespassing. A fine. Sign it and go home. If not, jail overnight. The paper said I was intoxicated, belligerent. I stared at it and felt something shift inside me. The fear drained out, replaced by something cold and steady. I said, "I'm not signing that." He laughed and said no one would believe me anyway. That's when the door opened. A man in a dark suit walked in like he owned the building. Calm, unhurried. He introduced himself as my father's attorney and placed his briefcase on the table, pushing the paperwork aside like it was trash. He explained very clearly what was about to happen. Audio recordings, witness statements, excessive force, unlawful detention. He gave them a choice. Release me now, no charges, or deal with the fallout. They released me, but we didn't leave the airport. We went back to the gate, because my father wanted me to see something. While I was locked in that room, he was on the phone, not arguing, not yelling, just stating facts. The aircraft they had removed me from was leased, by a company he controlled. The lease had clauses, serious ones. Within minutes, the plane that had humiliated me was ordered to stop. Engines shut down. Passengers confused. Crew panicking. I watched through the glass as the aircraft was towed back to the gate. The same man who took my seat stormed off first, shouting about meetings and status. He stopped when he saw me standing there. His face drained of color as my father's lawyer explained calmly that the deal he'd been chasing for months was dead. My father was a major shareholder. He had made a call. Character concerns, he said. End of discussion. The video went viral before the sun came up. Millions of views. The airline's stock tanked. By morning, executives were scrambling. Apologies were drafted. People were fired. The captain lost his license. The attendant lost her career. Not because of me, but because of what they chose to do. Months later, I stood in a hangar full of students who looked like me, sounded like me, came from places like mine. A scholarship program born from that night. Flight training, engineering, opportunity. Behind us stood the same aircraft, repainted, renamed, carrying a message it could never escape. The first time I boarded again, my chest tightened. Trauma doesn't disappear just because you win. But I sat in that seat, buckled in, looked out the window, and felt the ground fall away. Not just the runway. The doubt. The shame they tried to give me. They thought I didn't belong. They were wrong. So, here's what I want to ask you. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet just to keep the peace, or would you have pushed back and risked everything? Was it justice, or was it too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this if you've ever been judged before you were known. And if you believe dignity isn't something you earn by looking the right way, make sure you stick around. Stories like this deserve to be told.